What's up, YouTube? It's me, it's Double D. I'm actually here down in my work area that I have, and I'm repairing lanterns that you see me find all the time in the dumpsters. So I have already went ahead. I found this one here in a Pier 1 dumpster. A couple of the panes of glass were broken. I've already cut them and replaced them, but I just wanted to show you the different sizes and the different kinds. And I already repaired this one. All the glass and everything was broken out of. And you see me all the time grab little things like, hey, I can use this for something, that for something. This here, little thing here, actually came out of another lantern that was just totally destroyed. But this thing lights up and it's cute. It came like that. You take it, you put it in another lantern just like this, and hey, you can get a couple more bucks for it just because of that alone. But I have two here that I found that were broken. This little one right here, only one of the panes of glass here is broken, so I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put a new one in that one and show you how I do that. And this one over here, it's pretty much, most of them are already broken. So we're going to be replacing 3 of these, but I'm going to show you how I actually cut the glass. You may already have experience in this. You may not. If you don't be afraid to try it. It's great. It's not as hard as you think, but I just wanted to show you some of the ones that I work on. And so I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to show you the tools that I use, that I personally use. You can alter it however you want or whatever you want to use. But so I'm going to set up, show you what I use, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut some glass, and we're going to repair a couple of these. So I'll see you back here in a couple minutes. These are some of the main tools that I use when I fix these lanterns. I always have these things around because this is what I use the most. Always have gloves because you're working with the glass. So take measure to measure the glass, something to write with to put your measurements down, unless you can remember them. I use Sharpies to mark the glass, or actually I also use Sharpies to fill in little tiny nicks, and that's why I have several different colors here. I have a glass cutter. This is the one I use. There was another kind. I'm going to show you that here when I go and show you how to cut glass. I'll show you the other one I had. And this one here also uses glass cutting oil. I don't know if it makes a difference if you use it or not. I use it. It seems to work for me. So I use a pair of pliers or channel locks like this. I maybe have to use them when I show you. I don't know. But usually what I do is I usually grab, if there's just a little piece that has to be broken off, I use these just to break them off with. I will show you what I use the duct tape for. I have a metal yardstick here, and I'll show you that too, and a dowel rod. I have a stick roller here, sticky roller. I use that to like roll my towel to get off the little tiny pieces of glass shards and stuff like that. And I have paper towels and Windex to actually clean my glass. So, but I'm going to show you all this stuff. I just wanted to show you what I basically use when I repair these lanterns. So I'm going to set everything up, and we're going to go ahead and fix one of these lanterns. So I'll be back in a few minutes to show you that. All right, we're back. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to work on this one first. I have a piece of glass here. You see me all the time. I constantly try to find glass because, for one, it's free, and this is what I use the glass for. Sometimes I use them for frames where the glass has been broken out of the frames, but I use a majority of this to repair these lanterns. There's really nothing wrong with them, and except for the glass is broken. So, and it's an easy fix. What I choose to use to work on is I have a hard piece of wood underneath here. And then I have this towel, of course, I found in probably Bed Bath & Beyond. It's not like a fully soft towel. I don't really like working on just like a hard surface when I do this. I like to be able to move my glass around and it not scratch, okay? So the little tiny glass shards usually fall down in these little tiny grooves that are in here. And that keeps it off my glass. It's a little bit, gives me a little bit of cushion, so when I can push on this, when I score the glass and stuff like that. So I find that this type of towel works perfect for me. You could pick whatever you want and use whatever you want. I choose just to use a towel to work on. I started cutting glass using this, and I sat down and just watched a bunch of different YouTube videos on how to cut glass. Everyone has their own little technique. You know, I picked up little things here and there, and then I, by trial and error, you know, I figured out what works for me. You know, if you choose to do this, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to break glass. You're going to do it all, but don't give up, because it takes a little bit of practice. It's not that difficult, but it does take a little bit of practice to get a method down that works for you when you cut glass. So I started off using this one. This is one of the cheap ones, you know, a few bucks. I found over time that this doesn't work for me. So I went out and I spent a little bit more money on one of these. This unscrews here, and you can actually fill it up with cutting oil. So I showed you that, that's comes in a little bottle. It was a little more expensive. I'm going to say this was probably anywhere from $10 to $15 for this thing. And then the oil, I think, was like $6 or $7 for a small little bottle. That's all you're ever probably going to need, because it doesn't take much to fill this thing up. I like Sharpies like this. You might like a fine tip. It doesn't matter. I use these type of Sharpies to mark the glass, and I'll show you what I do. So first thing is always have gloves on when we're working with glass. You will cut yourself. No matter how careful you are, you will cut yourself unless you wear gloves. So I like to wear a glove that covers my whole finger. I have some of these where it's just here, and then it's just fabric in the back. I like it to where it covers my whole fingers. So with that being said, let's get started. So this piece of glass was already out of it. Now, I found that if you have a piece of glass that is left in these lanterns, you can take it out and actually use it as a pattern. If you get a lantern where all the glass is broken out, that's fine. It's not hard to do. All you're going to have to do is just open this thing up and get your tape measure, and then you're just going to measure the inside diameter of it. It's always great to have a piece of paper to write it down. But if you can remember it, hey, you don't have to write it down. But yeah, you're going to want to, this one here shows me at 5.5. Now what you're going to want to do is not really cut it at 5.5. You're going to want to cut it just underneath. But once you get your measurements, you know, just do it just a little bit under, because that gives you a little bit of room to play with inside here. Now, you have a frame here to work with. So if you cut it just a little bit shorter, it's great. It gives a little bit of room. So if you make it too tight and you move this or it gets bumped, the glass is probably going to break, okay? But if you give it a little bit of a gap around here, you won't have that problem. These little tabs here, on most of these lanterns, they have little tabs that just hold it in, and then you just bend them up. It's not that difficult. But if you have it too tight, and this has happened to me, and you bend this over, it actually squeezes the edge of the glass here, and it could shatter it and send a crack right down it. I've had it happen to me, so just measure it just underneath, and then you won't have any kind of issue. So I'm going to put this glass over here off to the side. And we're going to take a little bit more of a look here at the lantern itself. So as you can see inside, they have those little tabs, and they're usually, these tabs are up here at the very top. So you're going to want to bend them all the way up. So when you put your glass in there, you don't have to worry about it. So this one has a pane of glass already. So like I said, it's great if you have one, because you can use that as the pattern, and it's perfect. Now, I have had some lanterns where two of these pieces of glass are this size, and one of them is just a little bit smaller, because they're going to fit in. Some of them, they stack just like this. So if you have them all the same size, and they have them one cut shorter, it's going to jam it up. You're not going to be able to fit it, and it's really, really difficult to have to just break just a little sliver off, and it's almost impossible because it just doesn't break that way. I have tried it. I've tried it down to really small, like maybe 1/4 of an inch, and I had difficulty with it. So it's very difficult, anything under 1/4 inch, to actually just score and break that off. But we're going to fix this lantern up. This one seemed like it had a little bit of a decoration on it. You don't always find them like that. I'm going to try to, I have, of course, you see me in my videos, I grab this kind of stuff all the time because, example, we're going to put some others that I have found and decorate this one up. So let's get set up. I'm going to get set up here to actually cut a piece and show you what I do. So I'll see you back here in a couple seconds. All right, I got my piece of glass that I'm going to use to cut with. Sometimes I'll use bigger sheets because I can actually cut out maybe all the panes of glass out of one sheet of glass. I got these. I found I found boxes and boxes of these little plastic frames that were on here. So I grabbed them all, and that's what I'm going to use today. Now, sometimes when you get these lanterns, they use thick glass. It's pretty thick. You know, you don't have to use the same thickness. And if you have it, that's great. If not, you know what I tend to do is I'll actually, a lot of these lanterns, they're the same size. No matter what store you get them out of, they're all probably going to come from the same place. So they're all the same size. So what I tend to do is I like to just take one of these and save it for a pattern for when I find ones like this that don't have any glass in. I have a nice little pattern to work with. The door here is going to definitely be smaller than the actual big panes of glass. So if you can get it to where you can save those, great. Then you can just replace all the glass in there, and they will all be the same size. I'm going to tell you, people are not going to sit here and come up and look and say, oh, this glass is a little thicker than this one, I don't want it. People don't know. They just don't know. Some of them come from the manufacturer. I don't know if you can see it in here, but there's a little, it's cracked right here. It's chipped right here. They will put these still in there when they manufacture them. It doesn't matter. It's hidden anyways down in the corner. So they're not going to replace the glass and eat the cost of that just because of a little chip down here that no one's going to see. So you will find brand new ones in the store that have these little tiny chips. And it comes from when they break it in the manufacturer. So the funny thing is it really doesn't happen much when you cut it. So even if it does, don't worry about it. You know, if you want to be that perfectionist and you know, make sure you have them all cut to where it's not like that, that's fine. If not, put it in there. People don't see it. They're not going to see it. It's going to blend in with these frames. So All right, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my first pane of glass. So we'll set this off to the side, and then I'm going to set the lantern and get my my work table all set up. So, all right, I got my pane of glass I'm going to work with, and I also have my template right here. So what I do is I come over here and I just grab these and I just measure it up and line them up with both edges to where they're just right. And then I grab my Sharpie and I make 2 marks on each side. And the reason I do that is so I have 2 points of reference to make my straight cut. Don't worry about the Sharpie on there. Windex, take it right off. So now it's up to you. You can, it doesn't matter really what side you cut. Now, if you're going to make several different panes of glass on one sheet, you're probably going to want to cut your longer one like this. Like if I were to put 2, and I don't think I can with this one because it's not quite big enough, but you would want to cut this one first, and then you can make your several cuts this way. So now what I do is I get my glass out of the way. All right, this is where I use my metal yardstick, okay, because that's going to be my guide to make sure I cut a nice straight line. Now, this is what I use duct tape for. Now, when I first started doing this, I used to take this and try to hold it still to where it doesn't move, and this one tends to do this. When you put pressure on it up here and you're pushing on it, it will move on you. So I take a couple pieces of duct tape and I place it on one side of the yardstick just like that. And I take my glass, get this out of the way, and then I line it up. Now, you made your mark on the outside of your template, so you're going to want to measure this little tiny blade here right to the inside, so that way you have your perfect size of your glass. So I'm just going to measure that up there, and I do that, and then you have your second point to where you can adjust that to right there, and then you double check your other one until you get to a point where they're both lined up just right where you want them to be. And then you put your tape down. That'll keep your yardstick from moving, or whatever you're going to use to as a straight edge. So what I'm going to do is, some people can start here and go across. I always like to start here and just do a little bit that way, and then have a fresh long line. So you're going to do it with some medium pressure. You don't want to do it too hard, because then what's going to happen is you're going to push too hard, and believe it or not, your glass is just going to break off. So you just want to do it with medium pressure, and you're going to hear the noise. It's going to sound what someone said it was going to be. It sounds like sizzling bacon. So I'm going to go ahead, put this against here, and just score it a little bit. And then I come back my way this way, and you're going to hear it. If you hear that sound, that means you're getting a pretty good score on that glass. Then I take off my ruler. Now there's 2 different ways I break the glass. You're going to see, you can probably see the score right here. Hopefully you can see that. So you know that's where your score is, that's where it's going to break. There's a couple ways you could do it. You could take your dowel rod, and you can place it right underneath the score. And then you could push on this and it will break. That works great for me when I'm using when I have to break off little pieces of glass about half this size. But what I have found, when you break it like this, sometimes it breaks off up here or inward, and then if you wanted to use that glass, you're kind of messes you up for another piece. So there's another way I found and that's what I'm going to show you. You have the cutting blade on this side, and then you have this little ball here. As you can see, even on this one, it has a little ball. So what you do is you come across to one side here, and then you take this ball and you're going to tap it just right along that score. Just like that. Not too hard, but just hard enough. Sometimes you'll see little glass flakes flake up, and what you're doing is you're just actually breaking that glass right along the edge, and then what happens is it pops right off just like that, and then you have a nice straight edge. Now sometimes it's nice to have a file, because if you get any kind of rough edges along here, just take your file and go across it. It smooths out instantly. So there's one cut. So now I'm going to do the other one. So I'm going to get my yardstick here, place it down, and we're going to get our measurement. Put your tape down, and you're going to score your glass. Now, I'm going to show you the dowel rod method, being that this is a little bit shorter now. And the reason it's harder with the longer pieces, because you kind of have to put even pressure along the edge where it's scored, like the whole piece of glass. If you have a piece of glass this long, it's kind of hard to get any kind of pressure because you got to hold both sides. So what I'll do is you hold one side like this, kind of firm, and then the other one you just keep the middle of the curve of the dowel rod right on that score, and then you just push gently on the right, and then it breaks. Now, as I told you, it might just break off just a little bit on the inside. That's why I don't like doing it that way anymore. I don't know if you can see, but what happened was it broke off on the one side here. There it is. Right along this edge here, just on inside of your score. Now, you're not going to see this in the lantern, and I don't even know if you can see this here. Let me grab some paper here or something, and maybe we can see it. It curves in just a tad bit right here. It broke off out of your score. The score is just in there. But that's why I don't like doing that. I like the tapping method because it just breaks it right along that score, and then you got a nice, even cut. But it doesn't matter. It's going to work perfect anyway. So take this piece of glass, and we're going to set this aside. I'm going to get another pane, and then we're going to work on, I need to get a total of 3 because I'm going to keep this pattern, and then we'll work on the door and getting that one. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, I got my next piece of glass. Now, if you're going to use a template, use the piece of glass that you started with. Don't take the one that you just cut. It's kind of weird. It seems like if you use the one you just cut and you keep doing that, it start getting bigger and bigger, or it gets smaller and smaller. It's kind of weird. So you want to keep and mark with the same piece of glass you start with. So we're going to repeat just what we did earlier, and we'll measure it up and mark it. Just like this. Again, you're going to make mistakes. It's impossible not to once in a while, but the more you do this, the better and the faster you're going to get at it, okay? And you'll find a good way of doing it that's going to work perfectly for you. So we got that cut, and we're going to work on this next one now. Okay, let's get a ruler over here. Now, I save my scrap pieces of glass because I will find things where I need just a little piece of glass, and I end up not wasting it. So I have a little place where I put all my little pieces, and then sometimes if I need it, I have it, and I don't have to waste a big piece just for a little piece. So there we go. We got that. Score down there. And we just take it to the edge, just lightly tap, and it pops right off. That's what I found works the best for me. Now, sometimes if it breaks, doesn't break straight, and like one of the edges, it breaks outward right here, but you still have your score, that's where I will grab my pliers here, and I'll just take a little bit, just squeeze it gently, and then just put a little bit of pressure on it. Usually it breaks off, but it doesn't break off as clean, so that's why you have the file and you just file it a little smooth. So we're going to cut the next one. Again, it just takes a little bit of practice. There was one in one of my videos that I got out of Pier 1, and it was curved. The top was curved. So what I did is I took out the front piece, the one that had all the trees on it, and I used that as a pattern, and I just drew a line, and then I just free-handed this and just made the curve like that, tapped right along it. It broke clean, and it looked good, and it fit in there perfectly. So you can cut your own designs. You can make whatever you want. Again, it just takes a little bit of practice, and the more you do it, the easier it will get. And you will always make mistakes. It does not matter. So no matter how much you do this, you make mistakes, and glass will get broken, and you have to start all over, but hey, that's part of the game. So all right, we're just going to tap along here again. Now this tap method, it really works well when you need to just cut just a little bit off, like maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/4, or the thinner ones, because it's kind of hard to get pressure on there if you're going to use the dowel rod method. But so there's 2 of them. So we got 2 down, and we got 1 more, and then we're going to cut the small one. So I'm going to get another little piece of glass, and I'll be right back. All right, now I have all my glass cut, and I have it sitting here and ready to go. So I got 3 sides of the large ones and 1 of the smaller one for the door. So they have a little decoration on this one. I like to replace that. I don't have the second one. I couldn't find it when I found it in the dumpster, but I'm going to take these ones here, and I think I found these and got these out of AC Moore's dumpster. It's either that or I got it out of Michael's, one or the other, I'm not sure, but I do have 2 of them. So I'm going to go with the idea that they have here, but I'm going to replace it and use these nice little purple ones instead. So anytime you could try to reuse something, go for it, because for one, it's free and it's not going to cost you anything. So so I'm going to go ahead and replace this out of here and see what I can do. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out. It's good to work with this without the glass in, so you can access and get in there. It's a pain in the butt when you do it and the glass is in there. So now that you have it out, we're going to go ahead and try to get this out. All right, now I noticed when I got this stuff apart, it is a little bit bent here. So I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to see how come it is, and we can just take it and probably fix that somehow. So again, these all come apart to a degree, but I think it just came from the manufacturer like that, a little bent. Maybe that's why they threw it out, besides the glass being broke or not. So I'm going to try to work on this a little bit. Now it doesn't look like I'm going to get anywhere with that, so it's probably, it looks like it's just welded that way. But yeah, let's see if we can fix it. So I'm going to try to work on that and figure out how I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. All right, we're back. I went ahead, there was a little weld that was behind here. I kind of took it apart and I pushed it down and straightened it out. Now it did leave a little mark here, but it doesn't matter because these are going to cover it up anyway. So we're good to go there. It looks straight, looks a lot better than it did. Now what you want to do now is we're going to want to clean this. So before we start putting everything together, we're going to clean this up with some, I got my Windex here. Got my Windex, and we got the paper towels. So let's go ahead and get this all cleaned up. All right, we got it all cleaned up, ready to go. We're going to go ahead. I have a little bit of copper wire here that I'm going to use to actually blend in with the stem here of these things. Now they had these green ones before, but I'm not going to use them because I think this copper actually blends better with green. So I'm just going to toss those away. So we're going to go ahead and get these all strapped on. All right, now we got those all strapped on there now. There's a little bit of gap in there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some other stuff and we're going to put something right there. So I'm going to go get that and come right back. So I dug through my bag of stuff that I found in one of the dumpsters, and I came across this, which is awesome, which I think is going to look really good with this. So I am going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and put this in here. Get that in there pretty good. So now I got a little bit of what they call beading wire, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loop this through here, and just to secure it. And then this will be pretty much ready to go actually for to put the glass in. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right, now that we got our decorations on here, we're ready to put the glass in. Now, I don't really do this too much. Actually, finding this lantern like I did kind of inspired me to actually replace that and put this kind of stuff on. But this is why I grabbed this stuff out of the dumpster. So we're going to go ahead now and put the glass in. I usually always wait to put the door in last, but before you want to do that, you want to make sure your glass is clean. So we're going to go ahead and clean that up before we put it in. All right, all our glass is clean, and I tend to, what I like to do is put the one in the back in first, only because these tabs in here, right here, get in the way of putting this last piece of glass in. So it's always good to put the back one in first. Now there's a certain way these go in. If you try to shove it in this way, you can't really get it in. So what you do is you go ahead and slide it right up into the top, and then maneuver it around a little bit to get it inside. Now there's most of these have a little lip down below here, right down here, that you have to slide it in. So you just put it in there, lay it back, and fold these tabs down. And that's it. And then you just repeat for the next ones. And there you go. Now one other thing that I like to do is I find those I find busted lanterns, but they have these things inside. Now you see me on my other videos, I do find these in there. Usually, to be honest with you, they usually all work. Occasionally I'll find one where one doesn't work, but they end up throwing the whole thing away. So you keep these and you can place them inside these lanterns, but I know that this one does not work. So what I did is I actually have one of my other busted ones that I have grabbed out of the dumpster, and we're going to take that apart and use this one. And there you go, perfect. Now you can go ahead and you can turn around and you can actually sell this for a nice little price. And you know, at my place that I sell this stuff at, I generally sell it at a quarter of the price of what they pay for in the store, and that gives people that really can't afford the retail prices that they can actually have one nice or even nicer than in the store. This makes it individual. Now, I find ones in the dumpster, you know, some of those places, they like to spray paint this stuff up. You know, what you can do, I mean, that's fine if they want to do that. You can sit there and spend the time and try to scrub it off. What I do is I take and I pick a nice color and I spray paint the whole thing myself. You could pick whatever color you want. Generally in the store, they always find these brown ones, they're white or whatever. You could pick any color you want, blue, red, orange, green, whatever you want. Spray paint it, make it individual. People get sick of these colors, and you just offer them a wide variety of different colors. So, but that's how I generally fix these things. So, with that being said, I want to thank you for joining me with this, and it's been a pleasure showing you how I do the things that I do after I find them in the dumpster. So, I want to say thank you very much, and keep looking for my videos, and I'll see you later, guys. Bye.